My name is Megan Norton. I am 32 years old. 3 weeks ago, my brother threw my suitcase onto the frozen driveway the day we buried my father and told me I had 1 hour to disappear. I stood in the cold with nothing but a coat and a silver necklace my mother left behind. I didn't even get to say goodbye to the house I grew up in. Then I rented a room from a woman I'd never met, and the moment she saw the date engraved on my necklace, May 22nd, her hand started shaking. She looked at me and whispered, "Your mom died right after you were born." My stomach dropped because I had never told her that, and the only way she could know is if she was there. Before I tell you how that moment changed everything, if this story resonates with you, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely feel it. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from. Now let me take you back to a Tuesday in January, the day they lowered my father into the ground. The cemetery sits on a hill outside Whitmore, Pennsylvania, where the wind cuts through every coat you own. My father's casket is dark mahogany, the expensive kind. Derek picked it out. Derek picks everything out. I stand in the back row, not by choice exactly, more by gravity. 32 years of being placed at the edges of rooms, and your feet just learn where to go. Derek is up front, shaking hands, receiving hugs. Thank you for coming. He fought hard. We'll miss him. Every word polished, every gesture practiced. My brother has always known how to perform grief. People line up to touch his shoulder. Nobody glances back at me. Through my coat, a thin chain with a small oval pendant. The date, May 22nd, engraved on the back in my mother's handwriting. It's the only thing of hers I have. My father never talked about Catherine Norton. When I asked as a child, he'd go quiet. Once when I was 9, he said something I've carried like a stone in my chest ever since. If your mother hadn't had you, she'd still be here. I was 9, I believed him. The priest finishes. People begin drifting toward their cars. I step forward to place a small bunch of white daisies on the casket. Daisies because someone once told me my mother liked them. I don't even know if that's true. Derek blocks my path. Not dramatically, just a slight shift of his body, a hand raised. Dad wouldn't have wanted that. I look at the flowers in my hand. I look at my brother. His eyes are dry. They've been dry all day. "You can stand in the back," he says, already turning away. "That's where Dad always put you anyway." I stand there holding daisies that have nowhere to go. Back at the house, my father's house, the only home I've ever known. The relatives filter in for coffee and casseroles. I help Aunt Ruth set out plates because that's what I do. I fill gaps. I stay useful. Then, he sits me down at the kitchen table, the one where I did homework for 12 years, and slides a document across the surface. "Dad's will," he says. "Read it." I read it. My father, Raymond Norton, leaves the house, both vehicles, all bank accounts, and the entirety of his estate to his son, Derek James Norton. There's no mention of me. Not a line, not a footnote, not even my name. This can't be right, I say. Dad had a lawyer for 20 years. Mr. Patterson. Patterson retired. Dad updated the will last year with a new notary. It's all legal. I stare at the signature. It looks like my father's handwriting. Close enough, but something feels off. The way the letters lean, the pressure of the pen. I can't name it. I just feel it. Can I at least see the original? The one Patterson drafted? Derek folds his arms. This is the original. Dad's choice, not mine. I look around the kitchen. The window above the sink where I used to watch snowfall. The scuff mark on the floor from when I dropped a cast iron pan at 14. Every inch of this house has my fingerprints on it, and now I'm being told none of it belongs to me. I'm not asking for charity, Derek. I'm asking for what's fair. He stands, walks to the front door, opens it. Sleet is falling sideways. "I'll give you 1 hour. Pack light." I pack in the dark. My old bedroom still has the same twin bed, the same lamp with the crooked shade. I fold clothes into a suitcase that barely zips, toothbrush, laptop, the framed photo of my mother holding me as a newborn. The only photo I have of her. My hands aren't shaking from the cold. They're shaking because I'm realizing, with each item I fold, that I have no one to call. Grace, my closest friend from college, is working a case in Philadelphia. Her phone goes to voicemail. I try 2 coworkers. No answer. It's a Tuesday night in January. Everyone has somewhere warm to be. I drive my 12-year-old Honda to the Route 9 motel outside town. The woman at the front desk runs my card. Declined. I try again. Declined. Sorry, hun, she says. You got another one? I don't. I check my banking app in the parking lot. The joint account, the one my father set up years ago, the one my paycheck still deposits into, is frozen. Status account hold initiated by cosigner. Derek called the bank before the funeral flowers even wilted. He planned this. The will, the speech, the frozen account. This wasn't grief. This was strategy. My father was still alive last week, and Derek was already building the cage. I sit in my car, with the engine running. The heater rattles but barely pushes warm air. Sleet taps against the windshield. I hold the necklace, the pendant cool against my palm, and run my thumb over the engraved date. May 22nd, the day I was born, the day my mother died. For 32 years I've been told those 2 events are my fault. Tonight, sitting in a frozen car with $17 in my wallet, I almost believe it. Almost. Morning comes gray and bitter. I slept in the car with my coat as a blanket, and my neck feels like rusted wire. I drive into town because I need coffee and a plan, in that order. At the Whitmore Community Church, I stop to use the restroom, and on the bulletin board by the entrance, a handwritten index card catches my eye. Room for rent, $400 per month. Quiet house, meals negotiable. Call Viola, $400 a month. I can cover that with what's left in my personal savings, the small account Derek doesn't know about. $2,000, 5 months of breathing room. The address leads me to a narrow street on the south end of town. The house is old, white clapboard, green shutters, a porch that sags on one side, but the walkway is shoveled clean, and through the window of a small attached greenhouse, I see green things growing, despite the frost. A woman opens the door. She's tall for her age, silver-haired with reading glasses pushed up on her forehead, 70-something, steady eyes. I'm here about the room, I say. Then her gaze drops just for a second, to the necklace resting against my collar. Her hand twitches, a quick clench of her fingers, then nothing. Come in, she says. I'm Viola Henderson. The room is small but clean. The single bed, a nightstand, a window that faces the backyard garden. It smells like lavender and old wood. I'll take it, I say, and my voice cracks on the last word. Viola studies me for a long moment. Then she nods. You don't have to explain anything tonight. Just rest. I close the bedroom door behind me and cry for the first time since my father died. Not from sadness, from the simple shock of someone saying something kind. Behind me, on the other side of the door, I don't hear Viola whisper to herself, but she does. One word, barely a breath. Catherine. 3 days pass. I call my office, a small accounting firm on Main Street, where I've worked for 6 years. Linda, the receptionist, picks up. Megan, hey, so your brother stopped by yesterday? My stomach tightens. What did he say? He said, you're dealing with some personal issues after the funeral, mental health stuff. He suggested we give you a leave of absence. He said what? Mr. Greer thought it was a good idea. He said to take a few weeks, paid leave, through the end of the month. Then we'll reassess. I hang up and stare at the wall of my rented room. Derek told my employer I'm unstable. He walked into my workplace and painted me as someone falling apart. I open my email. There's a message from Derek to the family group chain. Processed it. Did she get a name? She didn't, but she described him. Tall, mid-30s, drove a black Audi. Derek drives a black Audi. I sit on the edge of my bed and think, if Patterson refused to certify the amendment, that means the original will, the one Patterson did certify years ago, might say something completely different. Grace, Derek has a business partner, Frank Marshall. He's a notary public. They run a real estate LLC together. Or they used to. I think it went under. Grace pauses. I can hear her pen tapping. So, the man who notarized your father's new will is your brother's business partner? Yes. And they have a financial relationship? Yes. Megan, that's not a coincidence. That's a conflict of interest at best, and conspiracy at worst. I don't need to prove Derek wrong. I need to find who helped him lie. And now I have a name. Frank Marshall. Monday afternoon, Viola and I are in the kitchen when a car door slams outside. Hard. The kind of slam that announces someone before they knock. Derek doesn't knock. He pounds, 3 hits that rattle the front window. Viola opens the door before I can stop her. Derek stands on the porch, coat open, jaw tight. His eyes scan the hallway, then land on me. Who is this woman? He jabs a finger toward Viola. Why are you living with some stranger? Viola doesn't step back. I'm her landlady, and you're on my property without invitation. Derek ignores her. He crosses the threshold, 1 step, 2, and points at me. I know you talked to Patterson's office. I know your little lawyer friend has been making calls. Drop it now. Or what? Or I'll file a restraining order against you. Harassment, defamation. I'll make it stick. I hold his gaze. My pulse is loud in my ears, but my voice stays level. You do what you need to do, Derek. He stares at me. For a moment, something flickers behind his eyes. Not anger, fear. The kind of fear that lives underneath the bravado. Then he turns and walks out. His tires throw gravel across the walkway as he reverses too fast, clipping the mailbox on his way to the road. Viola closes the door, locks it. Then she turns to face me, and her expression has changed. The gentle landlady is gone. In her place is a woman carrying something heavy that she's been holding for a very long time. Megan, she says, her voice is quiet and deliberate. Sit down. I need to tell you something about your mother. The kitchen clock ticks. Outside the gravel settles and everything I thought I knew is about to come apart. Viola sits across from me at the kitchen table, a shoebox between us. She opens it slowly, the way you open something that hasn't been touched in decades. Inside photographs, old ones, faded Polaroids, and a few printed snapshots with scalloped edges. She slides one across the table. A young woman, dark hair, late 20s, tired eyes that still somehow smile, holding a newborn wrapped in white. Around her neck, a silver chain with an oval pendant. My necklace, my mother's necklace, the same one resting against my collarbone right now. That's Catherine, Viola says. And that baby is you, 3 hours old. I can't speak. I was your nurse. Your mother hired me when she was 7 months pregnant. She knew the delivery would be dangerous. The doctors told her to terminate. Complications with her heart. She refused. She knew she might die. She knew, and she chose you anyway. Viola pulls out another photograph. Catherine in a hospital bed, pale but smiling, pressing her lips to the top of a tiny head. Mine. She held you for 6 hours before the end. She whispered your name over and over. She'd already picked it. Megan. It means strong. My throat closes. For 32 years, I believed I killed my mother by being born. My father said it so many times it became fact. And now this woman, this stranger who is somehow not a stranger at all, is telling me the opposite. My mother chose me. May 22nd, I whisper, touching the pendant. The day you arrived, the day she left. She engraved it herself 2 weeks before the delivery. Viola reaches across the table and closes her hand over mine. Your mother told me something before she died, she said. Raymond will try to erase her. I won't let him. The room blurs, but I don't look away. Viola refills our tea before she continues. Her hands are steady now. Like the hardest part is already behind her. Your mother came from money, Megan. Not flashy money. Old money. Her family in Connecticut left her a trust when her parents passed. She never told Raymond the full amount. She didn't trust him with it. How much? When she set it up, just over $800,000. That was 32 years ago. With interest and proper management, it's grown. I stare at her. Set what up? An irrevocable trust in your name? Catherine hired her own lawyer, a man named Thomas Aldridge, completely separate from your father's attorney. She did it during her pregnancy when she realized the delivery might go wrong. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because the trust had conditions. Could only be activated once you turned 30 and made contact with either Aldridge or me. Your father fired me when you were 8 months old. He threatened to sue if I ever contacted you. I moved away. I tried to come back once 10 years later, but Raymond saw me in town and told me if I spoke to you, he'd have me arrested for trespassing. And Mr. Aldridge, he sent letters multiple times to your father's address. Raymond intercepted everyone. The math rearranges itself in my head. My father didn't just ignore me. He built a wall between me and everything my mother left behind. Every letter, every person, every dollar. I came back to Whitmore 5 years ago. Viola says, when I heard Raymond was sick, I put the room up for rent and prayed you'd walk through that door. She pauses. God has slow timing, but he showed up. Viola. Aldridge also has a copy of my father's original will before any amendments. Catherine insisted on it. 2 wills, 1 truth, and 32 years of silence about to break. Grace and I drive 3 hours east to Allentown, where Thomas Aldridge lives in a brick colonial with a flag out front. He's 78, sharp-eyed, and answers the door in a cardigan and reading glasses. I've been waiting for this visit for a very long time. His home office smells like old paper and lemon polish. He opens a fireproof safe behind his desk and pulls out a manila envelope sealed with wax. This is a certified copy of your father's original will, drafted in 1996. I witnessed the signing myself. Grace opens it, reads it, looks at me. 50-50, she says. The house, all assets, split equally between Derek James Norton and Megan Catherine Norton. I read the signature. It's my father's, confident, slightly slanted to the right. I've seen it on birthday cards and tax forms. This is real. Now compare it to the amendment Derek filed, Grace says, pulling the copy she obtained from the county registrar. Aldridge holds both signatures under his desk lamp. He doesn't need long. The slant is wrong. The tail on the Y in Raymond is shortened. And the date. Look here, he says. The ink saturation is inconsistent. This amendment was not signed by the same hand. Grace turns to me. This is enough to request a forensic document examination. If the amendment was forged, Derek committed a felony. Aldridge folds his hands. I warned Catherine this might happen. That's why she set up the trust independently. She said, if I can't protect her in person, I'll protect her on paper. I asked the question I've been holding all morning. What was in the original will that Dad didn't want me to have? The house, 50%, and your mother's entire jewelry collection. Grace packs both documents carefully. He's not just stealing your inheritance, Megan. He mortgaged the house, the whole house, to cover his debts. If the original will is restored, he can't hide that. I don't want revenge. I want what my mother fought to protect. 2 weeks after we visit Aldridge, Derek hosts a dinner. I find out through Aunt Ruth's Facebook post, a photo of the dining room table set for 12, captioned, Family Gathering to honor Raymond's memory. So grateful for Derek stepping up. I wasn't invited. Viola sees me reading the post over breakfast. She sets down her coffee. Don't go, she says. He wants an audience, not a conversation. I know, but I'm done being invisible. I drive to the house at 6:30, park on the street and walk up the front steps in a clean blouse and my mother's necklace. No armor, no speeches prepared. I just want to stand in a room full of people who forgot I exist and remind them that I don't. The door is unlocked. I step inside. Aunt Ruth, Uncle Howard, cousins Linda and Mark, a few of my father's old friends. The table is set with the good china, my mother's china, technically, though no one remembers that. Conversation dies the moment I appear in the doorway. Forks pause midair. Aunt Ruth's hand freezes over her wine glass. Derek stands at the head of the table. He's wearing my father's watch, the gold Seiko Raymond wore every Sunday. It catches the light as Derek straightens his posture. Megan, he says, my name like it's a weather report. Flat, unsurprised. I didn't think you'd come. I didn't think you'd host a family dinner in a house that isn't entirely yours. But here we are. A murmur travels the table. Uncle Howard shifts in his chair. Cousin Linda stares at her plate. Derek smiles, the kind of smile that invites a crowd to take his side. Grab a chair, he says. We saved you a seat. He hasn't. There is no empty chair. Uncle Howard stands and pulls a folding chair from the hallway closet. He sets it at the corner of the table without a word. I nod at him. He nods back. Derek watches this, then turns to the table. He raises his wine glass. Dad worked his whole life to build this home. He chose me to carry it forward. Not everyone was strong enough to earn that. Aunt Ruth lifts her glass. A few others follow. I don't. Derek looks directly at me. You can stay for dinner if you want. Consider it my last act of charity. Toward you. Cousin Linda leans toward her husband and whispers just loud enough for me to hear. Why doesn't she just accept it? I set my hands flat on the table. I don't raise my voice. I don't need to. I didn't come for dinner, Derek. I came because this is still my family, whether you like it or not. Derek tilts his head. The smile fades. Your family. Dad couldn't even look at you. He told me once that every time he saw your face, he saw the worst day of his life. That's who you were to him, Megan. A reminder, a burden. The table goes silent. Aunt Ruth stares at her plate. Uncle Howard sets down his fork. That's enough, Derek, Howard says quietly. She's still your sister. Derek doesn't look at him. Stay out of it, Uncle Howard. This is between me and the person who thinks she deserves half of everything Dad built, just because she happened to be born. You can insult me in private all you want, I say. But not here. Not in front of people Mom loved. Derek's jaw tightens. He drains his wine and turns to refill it. The glass shakes in his hand barely. But I notice fear again, underneath everything. Fear. I excuse myself to use the bathroom. On the way down the hallway, I notice things. The oak bookcase that held my father's first edition Hemingways, gone. The grandfather clock from the living room, gone. In the study, the glass cabinet where Raymond kept his watch collection is open and empty. Every shelf, bare. Derek inherited a furnished house 3 weeks ago. Half the furniture has already disappeared. I step into the kitchen to get water. That's when I hear Derek's voice. Low, tense, coming from the laundry room. He's on the phone. I said I'll make the payment by Friday, just give me 2 more. He sees me in the doorway. His face shifts. He presses the phone against his chest. Get out of the kitchen. I'm getting water. Get it and go. I fill a glass slowly, deliberately. He watches me the entire time, phone muffled against his shirt, jaw clamped shut. I can hear the tiny voice on the other end. Impatient, demanding, a creditor, a lender, someone who isn't asking nicely anymore. I take my glass and walk back to the dining room. Nobody mentions my absence. The conversation has stalled into small talk about weather and church schedules. On my way out, I drive past the strip mall on Route 9. Frank Marshall's office. Marshall Really and Notary Services has its lights on at 10 o'clock at night. The parking lot is empty except for one car. A silver sedan with a cracked windshield. Frank Marshall is working late or worrying late. A man who just inherited a house and everything in it shouldn't be begging on the phone at 9 o'clock p.m. And a notary who certified a suspicious document shouldn't be burning midnight oil in an empty office. Something is very wrong with Derek's finances. And I think the will is only part of it. Thursday morning, my phone buzzes. It's Mr. Greer, my boss. Megan, I need to be straight with you. Your brother came by again. He brought paperwork, some kind of medical opinion, saying you're not in a state to work. He's suggesting we formalize your leave. A medical opinion from whom? He didn't say. Look, I like you. You've been solid for 6 years, but I can't have this kind of disruption near the office. Clients are asking questions. I close my eyes. Are you firing me? I'm asking you to take a step back voluntarily. And if I don't, long pause, then it won't be voluntary. I hang up. I sit at the small desk in my rented room and stare at the wall. A minute later, a text from Derek. Now, you have nothing. No house, no job, no family. How long before you realize you should have just walked away? No house, no job, no family. He's listed everything he's taken from me, and he's proud of it. Viola appears in the doorway. She's holding 2 mugs. She sets one in front of me. Chamomile, same as always. And sits in the wooden chair by the window. He took my job, I say. He took a paycheck, Viola replies. He can't take what your mother gave you. I look at her. This woman who waited 5 years in a small house on the edge of town, renting rooms and watching the road, hoping I'd show up. My mother put me in Viola's hands 32 years ago, and Viola never let go. I pick up my phone and call Grace. Filed a petition. I want a forensic examination of that will. About time. Anything else? Yes. Find out exactly how much my brother owes. Every dollar, every creditor, every debt. I need to pause here for a second. Some of you might be wondering, why didn't I fight back sooner? Trust me, I asked myself the same thing every night in that tiny room. But here's what I learned. You don't fight back until you have something to fight with. If you've ever had someone take everything from you and then tell the world it was your choice, type I know in the comments. And stay with me, because what Derek doesn't know yet is coming. The following Tuesday, Grace drives me to First Heritage Trust in downtown Allentown. Mr. Aldrich has already sent the county activation paperwork ahead. Viola gave her notarized statement confirming her role as alternate guardian. We sit in a small conference room. A trust officer named Sandra Chen, sharp suit, no smile, reviews the documents. She asks me to present identification and one additional verification item. I unclasp the necklace and hand it to her. She turns the pendant over, examines the engraving on the back. May 22nd. Then looks inside the clasp housing. A tiny serial number, almost invisible, etched into the silver. She types it into her computer. Match confirmed. She says, the serial corresponds to the trust identification code, filed in 1993. My mother engraved more than a date into this necklace. She engraved a key. Sandra prints the account summary and slides it across the table. I read the number at the bottom of the page 3 times. 1,183,426, 800,000 in original principal. 32 years of compound interest managed by a fiduciary firm my mother selected before I was born. I sign the transfer of management documents. Grace witnesses. My hand does not shake. There's one more item in the trust file, Sandra says. She opens a sealed envelope, yellowed, fragile, and places it in front of me. A personal letter, included at the time of establishment, never opened. I stare at the envelope, my mother's handwriting on the front, for Megan when she's ready. Not in front of strangers. Not yet. Grace and I walk to the car in silence. She starts the engine. I hold the envelope against my chest and close my eyes. My mother, who died 32 years ago, just handed me a lifeline. I opened the letter that night, sitting on the bed in Viola's spare room, with the door closed and the lamp on low. The paper is thin, almost translucent, and the handwriting tilts slightly to the right. The same slant I saw on my father's original will. My mother's hand. My hand writes the same way. She wrote it when she was 7 months pregnant. The ink is faded blue, and in a few places the words are smudged, like she was writing through tears or exhaustion or both. She doesn't start with Dear Megan, she starts with You're kicking right now. She tells me she knows the delivery is dangerous. She tells me she's scared, but that fear isn't a good enough reason to give up on someone who hasn't arrived yet. She tells me about her own mother, my grandmother, who raised 3 daughters alone after her husband left, and who taught Catherine that the women in our family survived by planning, not by hoping. She tells me about Raymond. She says she loved him once, genuinely, but that something shifted after Derek was born. He became possessive, controlling. He wanted a son, and once he had one, everyone else became secondary. He loves Derek the way a man loves a mirror, she writes. And I'm afraid that when I'm gone he'll try to erase you because you look too much like me. The last paragraph is short. I've made sure you'll have what you need, not just money. Proof. Proof that you were wanted. Proof that someone planned for you. If Viola is still there, tell her I kept my promise. I fold the letter along its original creases, slide it back into the envelope, and press it flat against my chest. She never saw my face, but she knew exactly who I'd become, and she built the road before I ever had to walk it. 3 weeks later, the forensic document examiner's report arrives at Grace's office. I drive over and we read it together at her conference table. The findings are definitive. The signature on the 2024 amendment does not match Raymond Norton's known exemplars. The pen pressure is inconsistent, heavier on the downstrokes than Raymond's natural hand. The tail on the lowercase y in Raymond is truncated, and the ink saturation varies in a pattern consistent with a traced signature, not a freely written one. Someone copied my father's name carefully, but not carefully enough. Grace flips to the second section of the report. The notary seal belongs to Frank Marshall. License number, date, address, all confirmed. But here's the detail that locks it. Marshall's LLC filings with the state show he and Derek co-own Whitmore Heights Development, a real estate venture that filed for dissolution 7 months ago. Outstanding debts, $340,000. His notary is his business partner, Grace says. A partner he owes money with. A partner who had every reason to help him secure the entire estate. Is this enough? This is a felony forgery charge and conspiracy to commit fraud. We can file criminal charges and a civil petition to restore the original will. She looks at me over her glasses. Your call, Megan. Criminal charges mean Derek gets arrested. Civil means a judge decides. I think about it. I think about Derek pounding on Viola's door. I think about him calling my employer. I think about him telling Aunt Ruth I walked out on my own family. And then I think about the letter, my mother's handwriting, the careful, deliberate kindness of a woman who planned for the worst and hoped for the best. Before we go legal, I say I want to give Derek a chance to do the right thing. One chance. If he refuses, then everything goes to a judge. Grace sends the letter through proper channels, certified mail to Derek's home address, with a copy to his attorney of record, if he has one. The letter is clear. It presents the forensic findings. It includes a copy of the original 1996 will. It offers a meeting to discuss a voluntary restoration of the original terms, 50-50, and a written acknowledgement that the amendment was unauthorized. No police, no criminal charges, just the truth, put back where it belongs. Derek's response comes 3 days later, not through a lawyer, through a text message sent at 1 o'clock in the morning. You think you can scare me with a fake report? That will is real. Dad hated you. Deal with it. If you take this further, I'll tell everyone you forged evidence to steal from your own dead father. The next morning, a post appears on the family Facebook group. Derek's words. My sister is trying to steal Dad's house with fabricated documents. She hired a lawyer to create fake evidence against me. Please don't engage with her or her representatives. This is a legal matter now, and I will protect Dad's legacy. Grace reads the post over the phone. I can hear her exhale, sharp, controlled. He just handed us everything we need. She says he refused mediation, he defamed you publicly, and he put his denial in writing on a platform where 40 family members can see it, meaning a judge will see a man who was offered a reasonable exit and chose to escalate instead. That's not the behavior of someone with clean hands. Megan, now we go full legal. I hold the phone against my ear and look out the window. Viola's garden, bare in the winter light, a few green shoots pushing through the frost. Do it, I say. I gave him a door. He chose the wall. Grace hires a forensic accountant, paid from the trust, to audit Derek's financial footprint. It takes 10 days. The picture that comes back is worse than I expected. Derek and Frank Marshall co-founded Whitmore Heights Development 3 years ago. They bought 4 residential lots on the east side of town, leveraged to the ceiling. The market softened. 2 lots didn't sell. The LLC defaulted on its construction loan, $340,000, and the bank began collection proceedings. To cover the gap, Derek took a second mortgage on our father's house, $280,000. He did this while Raymond was still alive, but already declining, bedridden, barely lucid. The mortgage documents carry Raymond's signature, but given everything we now know about Derek and forged signatures, the legitimacy of that consent is questionable at best. On top of that, $60,000 in personal credit card debt, restaurant tabs, a leased BMW, a vacation to Scottsdale that showed up 3 months before our father died. Total exposure $680,000 against assets he doesn't fully own. In a house he mortgaged without authority, using a will he fabricated to justify the whole arrangement. Derek didn't forge the will out of greed. He forged it out of desperation. If I'd inherited my 50%, the bank would have discovered the unauthorized mortgage immediately. He'd have lost the house, the LLC, and his reputation in a single afternoon. Grace connects me with a distressed debt firm in Philadelphia, a company that purchases defaulted commercial loans. I use the trust fund to buy Derek's business debt. All of it, $340,000 at a discount, standard practice for defaulted paper. The purchase is clean, legal, documented. I am now my brother's largest creditor. I'm not punishing him. I'm making sure he can't run when it's time to sit at the table and tell the truth. The meeting takes place at Grace's office on a Wednesday morning in early March. Gray sky, cold rain, the kind of day that makes everything feel heavier than it is. Present in the room, me, Grace, and Mr. Aldridge on a video call from his home in Allentown. His face steady on Grace's laptop screen. On the other side of the table, Derek, and a lawyer he hired 2 days ago, a man named Phil Driscoll, who looks like he didn't sleep last night. Grace starts. She's calm, methodical. She lays out the documents one by one. First, the original 1996 will 50-50 split, witnessed by Thomas Aldridge, filed and recorded. Second, the 2024 amendment, everything to Derek, notarized by Frank Marshall, Derek's business partner in a bankrupt LLC. Third, the forensic examiner's report, signature analysis, pen pressure, ink inconsistencies. Conclusion, the 2024 signature is not consistent with Raymond Norton's known handwriting. Derek sits with his arms crossed. His face is tight, but his left knee bounces under the table. "This is fabricated," he says. "My father wrote that amendment himself in his own hand." Aldridge's voice comes through the laptop speaker, clear and unhurried. "I was Catherine Norton's attorney. I witnessed Raymond sign the original will in 1996. I also maintained a verified signature file for both Raymond and Catherine. The amendment signature does not match my records. The original will does." Driscoll leans toward Derek and whispers something. Derek shakes his head. "She's lying," Derek says, pointing at me. "She's always been the problem in this family." Grace doesn't flinch. She reaches into her briefcase and pulls out a sealed manila envelope, places it on the center of the table. "There's one more thing, Derek. Do you know who owns your business debts now?" Derek's knee stops bouncing. Grace opens the envelope. Inside the assignment of debt agreement, a certified transfer from the distressed debt firm to Megan Catherine Norton. $340,000 in defaulted commercial obligations, originally owed by Whitmore Heights Development LLC, co-signed by Derek James Norton. She slides the document across the table. Derek reads it. His face drains, not slowly, all at once, like someone pulled a plug. "You?" His voice cracks. "How? You don't have this kind of money." I look at him across the table. My brother who told me I was nothing, who threw my suitcase onto a frozen driveway, who stood in front of our entire family and said, "Our father couldn't bear to look at me." "Mom did," I say. The room goes silent. Aldridge on the laptop screen. Grace with her hands folded. Driscoll staring at the document like it might change if he reads it again. Derek stands. His chair hits the wall behind him. She's bluffing. She's always been nothing. Dad said it. Everyone knows it. "Sit down, Derek." Grace's voice is flat and final, or the next conversation happens in front of a judge. Driscoll grabs Derek's arm. "Sit down." Derek sits. His hands are shaking. His mouth opens, then closes. For the first time in my life, my brother has nothing to say. No comeback, no performance, no narrative to spin. He's looking at me the way you look at someone you've underestimated so completely that the reality of who they are doesn't fit inside your understanding. I don't smile. I don't gloat. I fold my hands on the table and say the only thing that matters. I'm not here to destroy you, Derek. I'm here because you refused to do the right thing. When I ask nicely, Grace reads the terms. 3 conditions, non-negotiable. 1. Derek signs a sworn statement acknowledging the 2024 amendment is fraudulent. The original 1996 will is restored 50-50. 2. Derek sends a written retraction to every family member he contacted, including the Facebook group, correcting the false narrative about me. No spin, no softening, the truth. 3. Megan will restructure the $340,000 debt at a reduced interest rate and give Derek 5 years to repay. Manageable payments, a path forward, more mercy than he earned. If you refuse, Grace says, we file criminal charges for felony forgery. Refer the notary case to the state licensing board and pursue full debt collection on the original schedule. You'll lose the house, the LLC remnants, and likely your freedom. Driscoll reads the terms twice. He pulls Derek into the hallway. I hear murmuring. Driscoll's voice low and urgent. Derek's sharp and cracking. They come back. Derek's eyes are red, not from crying, from the effort of holding everything in. He picks up the pen, signs the acknowledgement. His hand trembles on every stroke, a shaking so different from my father's confident slant that even now, looking at the 2 signatures side by side, you could tell which one is real and which one was always borrowed. I stand. Grace gathers the documents. Derek doesn't look at me, but as I reach the door, he speaks quiet, almost to himself. Mom would have hated you for this. I stop. I turn halfway. No, Mom would have hated you for making this necessary. I walk out of the office, and the late afternoon sun hits my face through the glass lobby doors. Cold air, clean light, And I think this is what it feels like when someone finally believes you. I need to pause here for a second. If you've been watching this far, you already know this isn't just about money or a house. It's about being told your whole life that you don't matter, and then proving with receipts that you do. If that hits home, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe if you haven't, because what happens next with Derek and the rest of my family, it's not over yet. Derek sends the retraction letter the following week. Grace reviews it first to make sure it meets the terms. It's short, it's stiff, but it says what it needs to say. The will amendment I presented after our father's death was not authorized by him. The original will, which divides the estate equally between myself and my sister Megan, is the valid document. I regret any confusion or harm my earlier statements may have caused. It goes out to the entire family contact list, the same list he used to call me unstable. The same list he used to say I abandoned the family. Aunt Ruth calls me that evening. She's crying before she finishes my name. Megan, I'm so sorry. I should have asked you directly. I should have known something was wrong. You believed what you were told, Aunt Ruth. I understand. No, I believed what was easy to believe. There's a difference. She asks if she can visit. I say yes. She brings a pot of soup and sits in Viola's kitchen for 2 hours, talking about my mother in ways no one has talked about Catherine in 32 years. She tells me my mother once drove 3 hours in a snowstorm to help Ruth move apartments. She tells me my mother argued with Raymond about sending me to daycare because she wanted me close. Uncle Howard comes by the next day. He carries a cardboard box, old photo albums, loose snapshots, a few handwritten recipes. Your mother would be proud, he says. I should have said that at the funeral. I should have said a lot of things. Cousin Linda doesn't call. She doesn't text. I don't wait for her. Some people come back, some don't. Both are answers and both are enough. The consequences arrive in the order you'd expect. Legal first, then social. Frank Marshall's notary license is referred to the state licensing board. Within 6 weeks, his certification is suspended, pending investigation. His office on Route 9 goes dark. A for lease sign appears in the window before the end of the month. The original will is restored by the probate court. The house, my father's house, my childhood house, is legally split 50-50 between Derek and me. But there's a problem. Mortgage Derek took out against the full property is still active. $280,000 owed against an asset he only half owns. Derek's options narrow to one: sell his share. I agree to sell mine at the same time. We list through a neutral agent. The house sells in April for $410,000. After the mortgage is settled, what's left is divided. Derek's half barely covers his remaining personal debts. My half goes into savings. I don't keep the house. I don't want it. That house held 32 years of silence, and I've had enough silence to last a lifetime. Derek moves to a rental in Scranton. No business partners, no LLC, no notary friend to cover for him. His reputation in Whitmore is finished. Not because I destroyed it, but because the truth did. People remember the Facebook post. They remember the retraction. They do the math themselves. Grace files a report with the district attorney regarding the forged amendment. Under our settlement terms, I don't pursue criminal prosecution, but the report is on file. If Derek ever tries something like this again with anyone, there's a record. I didn't need him punished. I needed him to stop pretending he was innocent. And now, for the first time, the record reflects what actually happened. I stay in Viola's spare room through the spring. Not because I can't afford somewhere else, but because leaving feels wrong, and staying feels like something my mother would have wanted. We fall into a rhythm. Morning coffee at 7. Viola reads the paper. Actual newsprint delivered to the porch. I work on setting up my business plan at the kitchen table. Lunch together. Afternoons I help her in the greenhouse, repotting seedlings, and fixing the irrigation line that leaks every time it rains. In the evenings, she tells me about Catherine. She tells me my mother hummed while she cooked, that she had a habit of reading the last page of every book first because she hated surprises. That the week before her delivery, she sat in a rocking chair on the hospital patio and made a list of every lullaby she wanted to sing to me, ranked by tempo, because she thought slow songs would help a baby sleep better. She was organized about love, Viola says, the way some people are organized about business, everything planned, Everything. I hire a contractor to replace Viola's sagging porch. New railings, new steps, a coat of white paint. I fixed the shutters that had been hanging crooked since before I moved in. I patched the greenhouse glass where the winter cracked it. Viola signs the paperwork transferring full trust management to me. Her role as alternate guardian is formally closed. You don't need a guardian anymore, sweetheart. She says that night, going through the photo albums Uncle Howard brought. I find a snapshot tucked behind a Christmas card. Catherine and Viola, standing in a garden. Catherine pregnant, laughing, one hand on her belly. On the back in my mother's handwriting. My girls, both of them. I press the photo flat and hold it until the edge is warm. 4 months later, my phone rings on a Saturday afternoon. The caller ID says Derek Norton. I almost don't answer. I'm not calling to fight, he says. His voice is different, lower, tired in a way that isn't about sleep. I wait. I wanted you to know something. Dad told me something when I was 8. He sat me on the porch and said, if Mom hadn't gotten pregnant with you, she'd still be alive. He said it like he was giving me a fact, like telling me the sky is blue, and I believed him my entire life. I pressed the phone harder against my ear. Viola is in the garden. He told me the same thing, Derek. A long pause. I hear him breathe. I know that now. Another pause. I'm sorry, not because the lawyer told me to, because I am. Because I spent 30 years blaming a baby for something a grown man couldn't handle. I sit with that. The apology doesn't erase anything. It doesn't undo the frozen driveway, or the email to Aunt Ruth, or the visit to my employer. It doesn't fill the 32 years of silence, or give me back the birthdays my father refused to acknowledge. But it's the first honest thing Derek has said to me, since we were children. And honesty, even late, costs something. I can hear what it cost him. Thank you, I say, but I need you to understand. Sorry doesn't undo 32 years. I'm not closing the door on you, but I'm not opening it wide either. I know. We sit in the quiet for another few seconds. Then he hangs up. No goodbyes, no promises, just two people who grew up in the same house and are only now beginning to see each other clearly. Forgiveness isn't a door, it's a hallway, and I decide how far he walks. In June, I sign a lease on a small office space on Birch Street. 2 rooms, a bathroom, and a window that faces the town square. The rent is reasonable. The location is perfect. I register the business with the state. Norton and Daughters Accounting Services, Knott and Sons, not a family dynasty. A name that says exactly what it means, that the women in this line do the work, keep the books and build what lasts. My first clients are women. A single mother running a home daycare who's never filed quarterly taxes. A widow whose husband left behind a tangle of unpaid invoices and no records. A young woman starting a landscaping business who needs help setting up payroll for the first time. I don't charge the going rate. I charge what people can pay. And for the ones who can't, I work out a plan. My mother left me enough to do this right, not just financially, but philosophically. She planned for me. Now I plan for others. The office is small but clean. I put up a single framed photograph on the wall behind my desk. Catherine holding me as a newborn, 3 hours old, the silver necklace catching the hospital light. Grace comes by on opening day with a bottle of sparkling cider and a card that reads, "From the woman who always knew you'd figure it out. She's my first pro bono client." We laugh about that. Viola visits every Wednesday for lunch. She brings containers of soup and unsolicited opinions about my filing system. I keep every container and ignore every opinion. And she knows this. And she comes back anyway. My father left me with nothing. My mother left me with everything, and the difference taught me who I am. Some evenings after closing the office, I drive out to Viola's and sit on her new porch, the one I rebuilt. The paint is still bright white, the railings straight, the steps solid under my weight. The sun sets late in summer here. Orange light pours down the valley and turns the garden into something that looks painted. I think about my father on these evenings. I don't hate Raymond. I don't love him either. I understand him, at least the shape of him. He was a man trapped inside a loss he couldn't survive. He loved Catherine, and when she died, he needed someone to blame. A newborn can't fight back, can't argue, can't defend herself. I was the perfect vessel for all the grief. He refused to carry himself. He didn't beat me. He didn't scream. He just subtracted me from conversations, from plans, from photographs, year by year, room by room, until I barely existed in my own home. And Derek was the mirror, the son who looked like Raymond, talked like Raymond, moved through the world the way Raymond wanted to move. Derek wasn't born cruel. He was built that way, trained to believe that some people deserve and others don't. The same lie passed from father to son, like an inheritance nobody asked for. But understanding doesn't mean accepting. That Derek was shaped by a broken man, and that Derek still chose to forge a signature, steal a house, and throw his sister into the cold. Context doesn't cancel accountability. I lean back in the porch chair and listen to the crickets start their shift. Viola's kitchen light flickers on behind me. I hear the clatter of pans. Dinner soon. Understanding someone doesn't mean you owe them your silence. It just means you know exactly why you had to speak. I want to say something directly to you, not as a character in a story, as a person who lived through this and came out the other side. If you're in a family that tells you you're not enough, that your value is conditional, that love comes with a ranking system, I want you to hear this. The people who decide your worth are not always the people who know it. My father decided I was a burden the day I was born. My brother decided I was disposable the day our father died. Both of them were wrong, and both of them had the authority to make me believe it, because they were family. And we're taught that family knows us best. Sometimes family knows us least, because they see the version of us they need us to be. The quiet one, the grateful one, the one who doesn't ask questions. I'm not telling you to cut off your family. That's a decision only you can make, and the cost is real either way. I'm telling you this. You are allowed to decide how far someone walks into your life. You're allowed to change the locks, even if they helped build the house. My mother never met me. She held me for 6 hours, and then she was gone. But in those 6 hours, and in the months before, when she was writing letters, and signing documents and building a wall of protection around a daughter she'd never see grow up, she did something my father couldn't do in 32 years. She believed in me before I gave her a reason to. And if no one has ever done that for you, if no one has ever planned for your future just because you existed, then let this story be the start. You are worth planning for. You always were. I wear the necklace every day, not as a keepsake, not as a memorial, as a reminder that someone loved me before the world had a chance to weigh in. The pendant rests against my collarbone, warm in summer, cool in winter, always there. The engraving has worn smooth from years of my thumb running across the date, but I can still feel the numbers if I press. May 22nd, the day I arrived, the day she left. 2 events that used to feel like a curse. Now they feel like a promise kept. Viola calls from the kitchen. Megan, dinner's ready. I made pot roast. I look up from my desk. The office is quiet. The last client left an hour ago. My laptop is open to next month's tax calendar. On the desk, beside the keyboard, sits the letter. Faded blue ink on paper so thin you can almost see through it. You're kicking right now. It begins. Coming. I call back. I close the laptop, turn off the desk lamp. The photograph on the wall, my mother holding me, 3 hours old, catches the last of the daylight. I lock the front door and walk down the sidewalk toward Viola's house, where the porch light is on and the windows glow warm, and something that smells like rosemary and home drifts through the screen door. Behind me, the office sign reads, Norton and Daughters. Ahead of me, a woman who kept her promise for 32 years is setting the table. My name is Megan Norton. I am 32 years old, and for the first time in my life, I know exactly whose daughter I am. Thank you for staying with me through this whole story. If it made you feel something, if it reminded you that your worth isn't decided by the people who hurt you, then please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you want more stories like this one, check the description below. There's another video waiting for you. One last thing. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.